Alex's phone buzzed while he was cooking dinner, a sudden vibration that made him drop the spatula and fumble with the pan. The screen lit up with a message from a number he didn't recognize at first, but the name flashed clearly: Emma Clarke. His heart stopped. Emma, the one he hadn't heard from in years, the one who had walked out of his life when everything seemed perfect, the one whose face still lingered in the corners of his mind on quiet nights. The message was short, simple, and terrifying in its way. You need to know about Jordan. It's serious. Can we talk? Alex blinked, staring at the words, unable to move, as if the room had suddenly turned icy cold. Memories of Emma flooded back. Her laugh, the way she used to make tea just right, the arguments that had seemed huge at the time, but now seemed trivial. And now she was here, reaching out after all these years, with a warning that made his stomach twist. He couldn't understand why she would contact him now. Was it a joke? Was it a mistake? Or worse, was it the truth? Jordan was his world now, or at least he had thought so. He had trusted him. They had plans, dreams, routines, and quiet Sunday mornings that felt solid, safe. But the message made all of it feel fragile, like a sandcastle on the edge of the tide. Alex's fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling slightly, unsure whether to reply or ignore it. Part of him wanted to delete it immediately and pretend it never arrived, to preserve the illusion of peace. Another part of him, a deeper part that couldn't shake the anxiety, knew he had to respond. He couldn't just leave it hanging, not if there was even a tiny chance that Emma was telling the truth. He imagined calling her, hearing her voice, and somehow, pieces of a puzzle he didn't yet understand falling into place. And yet, a small, cautious voice inside him whispered that this could ruin everything, even if it was a lie. For the first time in months, Alex felt a chill creeping through his apartment, a sense that his life, the one he had built carefully with Jordan, might be a fragile illusion, and that Emma held a key he wasn't sure he wanted to turn. Alex sat on the edge of his sofa, the phone still clutched in his hand, staring at Emma's message as if it were some kind of riddle he couldn't solve. The words seemed to glow in the dim light of his apartment, almost mocking him. He thought about Jordan, about the way he had smiled that morning, the way he had kissed Alex on the cheek before leaving for work, completely unaware that something might be wrong, completely unaware that someone from Alex's past had suddenly appeared with a warning that could change everything. His mind raced with questions. Why now? Why contact me after all these years? And most importantly, could I even trust her? Alex's thumb hovered over the reply button, and he imagined what would happen if he typed, "What is it?" Would it lead him into trouble, or would it finally reveal the truth he had been too blind to see? He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, and the room seemed smaller, tighter, as though the walls themselves were pressing him to make a choice. Every time he imagined ignoring the message, the thought of what might happen to his life, what might happen to his relationship with Jordan, made his stomach twist into knots. He knew he couldn't just pretend it didn't exist. He had learned the hard way that ignoring warning signs rarely ended well. But even as he debated, doubt had crept in. Emma had left his life years ago, after all. How could he know she wasn't exaggerating, or worse, lying? His phone buzzed again with another message. "Please, Alex, this isn't a joke. It's about Jordan. You have to see me." The urgency in her words made him flinch. He felt a lump in his throat and swallowed hard, thinking of the quiet nights he had shared with Jordan, the laughter, the comfort, the plans for holidays, for a life together that suddenly felt like it could crumble at any moment. He thought about Lucy, his friend, and how she would probably tell him not to jump to conclusions, not to believe anyone too quickly. And yet, part of him knew he couldn't wait for her advice. Something told him Emma was serious, that whatever she had discovered could destroy the world he had built in a heartbeat. His finger finally pressed reply, and the simple words, "Okay, when can we meet?" appeared on the screen, his thumb shaking slightly as he sent them. Immediately, the buzzing stopped, and silence filled the apartment, heavy and almost suffocating. He felt a cold draft against his neck, as if the air itself was warning him, as if the world had shifted just enough to remind him that life could change in an instant. Alex sat back, staring at the wall, imagining Emma's face, her eyes serious, intense, filled with something he didn't yet understand. And in that moment, he realized that his life, his relationship, and the trust he had placed in Jordan were all about to be tested in ways he couldn't predict. He could feel a mix of fear and adrenaline coursing through him, making him jittery, restless, as though waiting for Emma to reveal the truth would either shatter him completely or finally make sense of the uneasy feeling he had ignored for so long. The thought of what Jordan might be hiding gnawed at him. The uncertainty was unbearable, and yet a tiny spark of determination lit inside him. He needed to know. He had to face whatever was coming. He couldn't run, and he couldn't hide. Not anymore. The buzzing of his phone suddenly returned. A new message from Emma. "Meet me at the cafe near the river. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone." Alex's chest tightened. Alone. Why alone? The word felt like a warning, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting would change everything. He put the phone down, staring at the ceiling, knowing that the next 24 hours would define the rest of his life. The next day, Alex arrived at the small cafe by the river, nerves twisting his stomach into knots. He had arrived early, sitting alone at a corner table, staring out at the gray water, listening to the dull hum of traffic and the occasional bird. Every time the door opened, his heart leapt, thinking it might be Emma. When she finally appeared, her face was serious, her eyes scanning the room before locking onto his. She wore a simple coat, her hair tied back, but there was an urgency in her steps that made Alex feel both relief and dread. She slid into the seat opposite him without a word, and for a moment, silence filled the space between them. Then she spoke, her voice low and tense. "Alex, I didn't want to get involved, but I found out something about Jordan. Something you need to know." Alex felt his throat tighten. "What is it?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady, though his hands shook slightly as they gripped the edge of the table. Emma glanced around nervously, then leaned closer. "He's been seeing someone else," she said quietly, almost as if speaking louder would make it real. Alex froze, the words hitting him like a punch. He wanted to ask for details, proof, anything that could make him believe it, but he also feared what he might learn. "I know it sounds impossible," Emma continued, "but I have messages, photos. I didn't want to show you over text. I needed you to see it for yourself. Alex felt his chest tighten. The cafe, the river outside, the sounds around him, all of it seemed to blur, and for a second he couldn't breathe. He had trusted Jordan completely. How could this be true? Emma's expression softened slightly. I wouldn't reach out if it weren't serious. You deserve to know. Alex swallowed hard, trying to steady his racing heart. Why now? Why tell me? He asked. Emma's gaze held his, steady and determined. Because if you don't know, you could lose yourself in lies. I couldn't stay silent. Alex took a deep breath. Part of him wanted to reject the possibility, to insist it wasn't true, but another part knew he had to face the truth, no matter how painful. And then Emma slid her phone across the table, a series of images and messages visible on the screen. Alex's hands trembled as he picked it up. The proof was undeniable. His mind reeled. Part of him wanted to throw the phone across the room. Another part wanted to curl into a corner and hide. And yet, a spark of clarity ignited. He needed to confront Jordan, to know everything, to understand how deep this betrayal went. Emma's eyes searched his face. I'm sorry, she whispered. I just couldn't let you stay blind. Alex didn't answer right away. His mind was a whirlwind of fear, anger, and confusion. Jordan, the person he had trusted more than anyone, might have been lying for months, maybe years. The thought made his stomach churn. Emma's hand rested on his for a brief second, a gesture of support, and Alex realized he couldn't do this alone. The next step was clear. He had to confront Jordan. But how? And when? His heart raced, each beat louder than the last, as he left the cafe with Emma's warning echoing in his mind, knowing that his life would never be the same again. Alex walked back to his flat along the narrow, rain-slicked streets of London, his mind spinning. Emma's words and the images she had shown him felt like a storm inside his head, shaking everything he had believed about Jordan. As he entered his flat, he paused by the doorway, staring blankly at the walls, and memories of his past with Emma surfaced uninvited. He remembered the afternoons they had spent wandering the parks of England, laughing at nothing, and how her presence had made him feel like life was simple and safe. He remembered the first time he had kissed her, the warmth of her hand in his, the way she had looked at him as if he was the only person in the world. And then he remembered the fight, the argument that had ended everything, leaving him confused and hurt, wondering if he had ever really known her. Those memories, once comforting, now felt like knives, twisting inside him. Why was she here now, after all these years, sending him proof that Jordan was cheating? He tried to push the memories aside, but they mingled with his current fears. What if he had ignored the signs? What if he had missed something obvious in Jordan's behavior? His chest tightened at the thought. He sank onto the sofa, head in his hands, trying to make sense of it all. He had loved Jordan, trusted him completely, and now he felt the foundation of his life cracking beneath his feet. And yet, alongside the fear and anger, there was a strange flicker of comfort in Emma's presence, even if it was only through her warnings. He realized that, for all the years that had passed, part of him had never truly let go of Emma. That part of him now whispered that perhaps she had returned for a reason, that perhaps she could help him navigate the mess his life had become. Alex's mind raced with questions. How long had Jordan been unfaithful? Was it just one person or more? Could he forgive Jordan if he confessed? Could he trust Emma again after all these years? The rain outside tapped against the window like impatient fingers, and Alex felt the weight of indecision pressing down on him. He knew he couldn't sleep, couldn't ignore the warning, couldn't pretend everything was fine. Tomorrow, he would have to make a choice: confront Jordan, dig for more evidence, or risk losing himself in lies. For the first time in a long while, he felt both terrified and alive, caught between past memories that warmed him and a present filled with betrayal that threatened to destroy everything he loved. The next morning, Alex tried to act normal, but something inside him had shifted. Every little thing Jordan did felt off, and he couldn't ignore it. When Jordan kissed him goodbye, his touch seemed hurried. Distracted, the way Jordan laughed at a joke that wasn't funny felt forced. Alex found himself noticing tiny details he had ignored before. The way Jordan's phone buzzed and he quickly hid it. The faint scent of perfume that didn't belong. The quick glances that seemed secretive. His stomach tightened as suspicion crept in like cold water, seeping into every thought. He remembered Emma's warning and the images she had sent, and a knot of dread grew in his chest. Could he really be seeing the truth right in front of him? He tried to push it away, telling himself he was imagining things, that paranoia was taking over. But every time Jordan smiled too quickly, avoided his gaze, or disappeared for a phone call, the unease returned stronger. Alex started checking Jordan's social media casually, scanning for hints, for any signs that something was wrong. He noticed messages he hadn't before, odd likes, comments from people he didn't know, small things that now seemed like clues. His mind began to race, thinking about Emma's words. He's hiding something. The thought made his chest tighten and hands tremble. He realized that trust, once broken, could twist reality, turning everyday moments into evidence of betrayal. By evening, he couldn't eat, couldn't focus on anything but Jordan's possible lies. He sat on the sofa, staring at the TV without seeing it, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. Every door that closed in his flat, every sound outside, made him flinch. He knew that soon he would have to confront Jordan or dig deeper into the secrets that had been hidden from him, and the thought both terrified and compelled him. The question loomed larger than ever. How deep did the deception go? Later that evening, Alex received another message from Emma. It wasn't just words this time. It was proof, images and screenshots that confirmed everything he had begun to suspect. His hand shook as he opened them, one by one. There were messages from Jordan to another woman, flirty and intimate, images of dinners Alex had never been invited to, locations that didn't include him. The realization hit him like a punch to the stomach. Jordan had been lying, hiding a whole life from him. Alex felt dizzy, as if the floor had disappeared beneath him. He sank into the sofa, trying to process what he was seeing. Part of him wanted to throw the phone across the room, scream, or run out into the street. Another part knew he had to stay calm, to think, to plan his next move carefully. Emma's message continued. I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but you need to see the truth before it's too late. Alex stared at the screen, guilt, anger, and heartbreak swirling inside him. He remembered all the small things he had dismissed, late nights, unexplained absences, vague excuses, and now they all made sense. His trust, something he had given freely to Jordan, had been broken quietly, methodically. He couldn't breathe properly, his mind spinning with questions. How long had this been going on? Who else knew? Was it just one person or many? He thought of confronting Jordan immediately, but fear rooted him in place. He knew this could lead to a fight, a lie denied, more deception. And yet, he couldn't ignore it either. The warning Emma had given was not a suggestion. It was a lifeline, a chance to see the truth before he was completely blindsided. Alex realized that nothing in his life would ever feel the same again. The moment of reckoning was coming, and he had to prepare himself. He needed answers, no matter how painful. With the images glowing on his phone, Alex understood that the life he had trusted was built on lies, and the choice to face it or run would define everything from now on. Alex couldn't sleep that night. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, the images from Emma flashing in his mind over and over. His heart felt heavy, pulled in two directions he didn't want to face. Part of him still loved Jordan, the man who had shared his life, his routines, his laughter, the quiet Sundays, and the small comforts of home. But another part of him felt anger, betrayal, and disbelief that the person he had trusted most could hide such a secret. And then there was Emma, sitting across from him in that cafe, her voice urgent, her eyes serious, and the undeniable truth she had delivered. The memories of their past, the laughs, the arguments, the closeness, mingled strangely with the pain he felt for Jordan's lies. He felt like his heart was in two pieces, each tugging in a different direction. He thought about confronting Jordan, demanding answers, but feared the explosion that might follow. What if Jordan denied everything? What if he turned the blame on Alex? And yet, he couldn't ignore the proof Emma had given him, the undeniable evidence that his life with Jordan wasn't what it seemed. Alex rolled over in bed, clutching the sheets, trying to sort his feelings, but it was impossible. He felt anger, love, confusion, fear, and hope all at once. He realized that he had to decide not just what to do about Jordan, but what he wanted for himself. Could he forgive someone who had betrayed him so deeply? Could he let Emma back into his life after all these years? His mind raced with the possibilities, each one heavier than the last. The night stretched long and silent, the city outside quiet, as Alex wrestled with his conflicted heart. By the time dawn crept through the window, he knew that he couldn't remain passive any longer. A confrontation with Jordan was inevitable, and he had to prepare himself, not just to find the truth, but to face the emotions he had kept buried for far too long. The storm inside him had only just begun. Alex waited until Jordan returned home that evening, the tension in the flat thick enough to taste. Jordan walked in, smiling as if nothing were wrong, and Alex felt his stomach twist. He tried to sound calm, but his voice shook slightly as he asked, "Jordan, can we talk?" Jordan's smile faltered, a flicker of unease crossing his face, but he nodded and followed Alex to the living room. Alex took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay steady. "I've noticed some things, some changes in your behavior," he said carefully. "Late nights, phone calls you hide, things that don't add up. Can you explain?" Jordan looked down, hesitated, then gave a vague shrug. "I've just been busy, that's all," he said. Alex felt a jolt of frustration. "Busy? Jordan, this isn't just about being tired. I need honesty. I need the truth." Jordan's eyes darted around the room, and for a moment, Alex thought he might confess, but instead, Jordan changed the subject, talking about work and errands. Alex's chest tightened. He realized that the confrontation was only the first step. Jordan was hiding something, and he wouldn't admit it easily. The tension between them grew, silent but heavy, and Alex felt a mix of anger and fear boiling inside him. He knew he couldn't stop here. He had to dig deeper to find the proof that Emma had hinted at. The question loomed: how far would Jordan go to keep his secret? And more importantly, how far would Alex go to uncover it? That night, Alex lay in bed again, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. The first confrontation hadn't resolved anything. It had only confirmed his worst fear. Jordan was hiding something, and the truth would not be easy to uncover. The next morning, Alex called Lucy and asked to meet her at their usual cafe. As soon as he saw her, he could feel the weight of everything he had been carrying. Lucy noticed immediately, her brow furrowing. "Alex, you look exhausted." "What's going on?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady but failing. He told her about Emma's messages, the proof, and the strange behavior he had noticed in Jordan. Lucy listened carefully, sipping her coffee, her eyes narrowing as she considered the story. "Alex," she said finally, "this isn't something you should ignore. If what Emma says is true, Jordan's been lying to you. You need to be careful, but you also need answers." Alex nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and fear. He didn't want to be wrong, but he couldn't ignore the evidence. Lucy leaned closer, her voice low and urgent. "You need to investigate, but secretly. Don't confront him blindly. You need proof before anything else. Otherwise, he could turn it all around on you." Alex swallowed hard. He had never imagined himself sneaking around, looking for clues about someone he loved, but he knew Lucy was right. The thought of following Jordan, checking his messages, or finding hidden evidence made his chest tighten, but he also felt a spark of determination. He couldn't let himself be blindsided, not again. Lucy put a hand on his arm. "Be careful, Alex. You're dealing with someone who's good at hiding things. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of the warning settle over him. He left the cafe with a plan forming in his mind, knowing that the path ahead would be dangerous but necessary. He had to find the truth, no matter what it cost, because the life he had built with Jordan might not be what it seemed. And with that thought, a chill ran down his spine. The investigation had begun. Alex spent the next few days carefully watching Jordan, pretending everything was normal while his mind raced with questions. He noticed Jordan leaving the flat at odd hours, sometimes taking long detours on walks, or disappearing for phone calls he refused to answer. Alex followed discreetly one afternoon, keeping to the shadows. Heart pounding with every step, Jordan met someone in a quiet side street, a woman Alex had never seen before, and they hugged a little too closely before disappearing into a small cafe. Alex's stomach twisted. The proof Emma had given him seemed real, and now he could see it with his own eyes. He tried not to panic, but each secret movement, each lie, made his chest tighten and his mind spin. That night, he replayed every moment of the day, thinking about how Jordan had smiled at him just that morning, completely unaware that Alex had seen the truth. He realized that trust once broken, could change how he saw every interaction. He couldn't confront Jordan yet. He needed more evidence, more certainty. But the burden of watching someone you love betray you in real time was heavy, almost unbearable. By the end of the week, Alex felt exhausted, anxious, and angry all at once. His apartment felt smaller, the walls closing in as he tried to process what he had discovered. And yet, a strange determination burned inside him. He had to know everything before making a decision about his future. The question haunted him: how far would he have to go to uncover the full truth? And what would he do when he finally did? One rainy afternoon, Alex was sorting through the mail when he noticed a small crumpled receipt tucked between envelopes. It was from a fancy restaurant he had never visited, dated last weekend, the exact time Jordan had claimed to be at a work meeting. Alex's hands shook as he held it. The ink smudged from the rain, but the name of the restaurant was clear. His mind raced. Jordan had lied. The realization hit him like a cold wave. How many other small lies had he overlooked, ignored, or rationalized? Alex sat at the kitchen table, staring at the receipt as though it were a message written just for him. Emma's warning echoed in his mind. He's hiding something. Now he had proof that Jordan's lies weren't just words. They were actions, hidden from him in plain sight. He felt a mix of anger and heartbreak bubbling up, threatening to spill over. Every memory of Jordan smiling, laughing, or whispering sweet things suddenly carried a shadow, a question. Was it real or another lie? Alex realized he had to follow this clue, trace it to the source, but fear and anxiety made him hesitate. What if confronting it directly pushed Jordan to cover his tracks further? What if the truth was even worse than he could imagine? The rain tapped against the window, a quiet reminder that life didn't pause while he wrestled with these thoughts. He tucked the receipt into his pocket, knowing it was just the beginning, the first step into the deeper secrets Jordan had been hiding. The storm of betrayal was only starting, and Alex braced himself for the next discovery. The next evening, Alex met Emma in a quiet street near a small park, the street lamps casting long shadows across the wet pavement. Emma's expression was serious, almost urgent, as she stopped in front of him. "Alex," she said, her voice low, "I need to be honest. There's more to this than you know." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. He had already seen the messages, the photos, the receipt, but Emma's tone made it clear that the truth ran even deeper. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice tight. Emma looked around nervously before leaning closer. "Jordan, he's not just hiding a relationship. There are things about his life, his past, that you don't know. I tried to warn you gently, but I think you're in danger of being blindsided completely." Alex's stomach twisted. He felt a mix of fear, anger, and disbelief. He wanted to shout at her, tell her to explain, but the seriousness in her eyes held him still. "I know it's a lot to take in," Emma continued, "but you have to trust me. I wouldn't come to you after all these years if it wasn't serious." Alex swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words pressing down on him. He realized that the situation was far worse than he had imagined, and that Emma's warnings were not just helpful, they were vital. He had to find out everything, no matter how painful, and prepare himself for the confrontation that was coming. As Emma turned to leave, she added one last chilling sentence. Be careful, Alex. The truth can hurt more than the lie. Alex watched her disappear into the night, heart pounding, knowing that the next steps he took would change his life forever. That night, Alex couldn't stop thinking about Emma's warning. He sat on the edge of the sofa, staring at Jordan's phone that had been left charging on the kitchen counter. Hesitation gripped him. He knew snooping was wrong, but the need for answers was stronger than his fear. With trembling hands, he unlocked the device and started scrolling through messages, carefully avoiding notifications that might alert Jordan. His heart sank as he discovered conversations with another woman, full of intimacy, hidden emojis, and plans that didn't include him. He felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and disbelief, as if the Jordan he knew had never truly existed. Each message he read deepened the pit in his stomach. And then he noticed something worse. There were multiple people, not just one, suggesting a pattern of deception that stretched far beyond what he had imagined. Alex's mind raced. How long had this been going on? How many lies had he swallowed without realizing? The apartment suddenly felt smaller, suffocating, as he realized the life he had trusted was built on secrecy. He closed his eyes, trying to calm his racing thoughts, but every memory of Jordan's smile, his gentle words, the promises they had shared, now felt tainted. Emma's warning echoed in his mind. You have to see the truth before it's too late. Alex now understood why she had reached out. The next step was unavoidable. He had to confront Jordan with evidence, but he needed to prepare himself. The truth was no longer something distant. It was right in front of him, and facing it could either shatter him completely or finally free him from the lies. Alex decided he needed more context before confronting Jordan, so he reached out to a few mutual friends he trusted. Sitting in a small cafe, he spoke quietly with one friend who had known Jordan longer than he had. Hesitation lingered in the air, but the friend finally spoke. Alex. Jordan's had secrets before. There were relationships no one knew about, situations he kept hidden. He's charming, yes, but he's careful about what people see. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He had suspected deceit, but hearing it confirmed from someone else made it real in a way the messages and photos hadn't fully captured. The conversation left him unsettled. He remembered Emma's warnings and the evidence she had given him. Every small doubt, every uneasy feeling he had ignored over the past months suddenly made sense. The trust he had placed in Jordan felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter. He asked more questions, but the friend hesitated, unwilling to give details that might hurt him further. Alex realized that this wasn't just about a single betrayal. It was a pattern, a secret life Jordan had maintained for years. Leaving the cafe, Alex felt a mixture of fear, anger, and resolve. He couldn't ignore what he had learned. The deeper he dug, the clearer it became that he needed to confront Jordan soon, or risk losing himself completely in lies he hadn't yet uncovered. The city streets seemed colder, shadows longer, as he walked back to his flat. Knowing that his life was approaching a turning point he could no longer avoid. Over the next few days, Alex noticed that Jordan was starting to pick up on his distant behavior. Every time Alex answered vaguely, avoided eye contact, or paused before speaking, Jordan's brow furrowed slightly, suspicion flickering in his eyes. Alex tried to act normal, to keep up the routine, But the weight of the secrets he now carried made it nearly impossible. Each laugh, each small gesture from Jordan felt loaded with meaning Alex didn't trust anymore. One evening, while they were making dinner, Jordan suddenly said, "You've been acting weird lately. Is something wrong? Are you hiding something from me?" Alex's chest tightened. He wanted to tell him everything, to demand honesty, but he knew the confrontation had to be strategic. He needed full proof before going further. He forced a calm voice. "No, I'm fine. Just tired," he said, though even he knew it wasn't true. Jordan's eyes lingered on him, searching, and the silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Alex felt a mix of fear, guilt, and frustration. He realized that Jordan's subtle tension meant he was aware that something was off, and the longer Alex waited, the more dangerous it could become. That night, Alex lay awake, thinking about how to proceed, replaying every word and action, trying to prepare for the moment when he would confront Jordan with the full truth. The distance between them had grown, unspoken but palpable, and Alex knew that every day he delayed brought him closer to an emotional breaking point. A few days later, while Alex was tidying the living room, he found a small envelope hidden under the couch cushions. Curious, he opened it and discovered a handwritten note from Jordan, not meant for him, but clearly left by mistake. The words were vague, apologetic, and hinted at secrets Alex hadn't uncovered yet. His heart raced, and a cold wave of fear swept over him. The note confirmed what he had been suspecting. Jordan had been hiding more than just another relationship. There were lies, small confessions tucked away, that suggested a life Alex had never been part of. He felt a mix of betrayal and dread, realizing that even the seemingly innocent moments in their home might have been built on deception. The thought made his chest tighten, and he struggled to breathe. Alex knew he couldn't ignore it. He had to confront Jordan soon, or the lies would continue to grow, creating a wall of secrets that might be impossible to break. That evening, when Jordan returned, Alex felt the tension in the room spike. Jordan's casual smile didn't reach his eyes, and Alex realized that the longer he waited, the more dangerous it could become. The hidden note had given Alex clarity, but also fear. The confrontation he dreaded was inevitable, and the truth, whatever it fully was, would change everything. That night, Alex sat alone in his apartment, the shadows stretching across the walls as if mirroring the turmoil inside him. Jordan had disappeared without explanation, leaving only a brief, vague text saying he was out for a while. Alex's chest tightened, panic rising with each passing minute. He felt trapped between fear, anger, and heartbreak, unable to eat or sleep. Memories of Jordan's smiles and comforting words clashed violently with the evidence of betrayal Alex had uncovered. His mind replayed every secret, every lie, and every warning from Emma, building into a storm of confusion and dread. He paced the flat, fists clenched, whispering to himself, asking questions he couldn't answer. What was Jordan hiding now? Who was he meeting? And would he ever be able to trust him again? The loneliness pressed down on him like a physical weight, and he realized that his life had become a series of unanswered questions and sleepless nights. Tears blurred his vision as he sank onto the sofa, exhausted and overwhelmed. Yet amid the despair, a spark of determination flared. He had to uncover the truth, no matter how painful, before he lost himself entirely. The night stretched long and silent, but Alex's resolve hardened. He could not allow the lies to control his life any longer. The next afternoon, Alex met Emma at a quiet park, the autumn leaves rustling softly around them. He felt drained, his thoughts a tangled mess of anger, betrayal, and exhaustion. Emma sat beside him, her expression gentle but serious. "Alex, I know this is hard," she said quietly, "but I'm here to help. You don't have to face this alone." Alex looked at her, feeling a mix of gratitude and confusion. Part of him still carried old feelings for Emma, memories from years ago that had never fully faded, and now she was here again, guiding him through the storm of Jordan's deception. "I didn't know how much to tell you before," she continued, "but I knew Jordan before you did. I've seen patterns in his behavior, things he hides well. That's why I reached out." Alex's chest tightened. The betrayal he felt from Jordan was heavy, but Emma's support brought a strange sense of relief. He could finally share the burden he had been carrying alone, and it gave him the clarity to plan his next steps. They talked for hours, reviewing what he had discovered, what Emma had warned him about, and what he might expect. By the time they parted, Alex felt a small flicker of hope. He knew the road ahead would be painful, but he no longer had to navigate it in silence. With Emma by his side, he felt more prepared to face Jordan and uncover the full truth. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that Jordan was hiding something more, so he decided to follow one of the leads from the messages he had uncovered. That afternoon, he trailed Jordan quietly, keeping to the shadows as he watched him enter a small, unremarkable house on the edge of town. His heart pounded as he crouched behind a hedge, peering through a rain-specked window. Inside, Jordan greeted someone Alex didn't recognize, and the warmth between them made his stomach twist. It confirmed what Emma had warned him about. Jordan had a life Alex didn't know, a hidden world he had been completely shut out of. Alex felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and sadness. Every memory of trust, every promise, now felt like a lie. He knew he had to get closer to understand the full extent of the deception, but fear made his hands tremble. The evidence was right there, tangible and undeniable, but the question lingered. How many more secrets was Jordan hiding? As he walked back home that evening, soaked from the rain and exhausted, Alex realized that uncovering the truth would demand courage, patience, and careful planning. The deeper he went, the clearer it became that his life with Jordan might never be the same again, and that facing this hidden reality was only the beginning of the storm ahead. That evening, Alex waited until Jordan returned to the flat. His hands were shaking, but his resolve was firm. He had gathered all the evidence, messages, photos, receipts, and the hidden note, and now he needed answers. When Jordan walked in, he smiled, unaware of the storm about to hit. "Jordan, we need to talk," Alex said, voice steady but tense. Jordan's smile faltered slightly, sensing the seriousness in Alex's tone. Alex laid out the evidence, one piece at a time, watching Jordan's face shift from surprise to panic. I can explain," Jordan stammered, but Alex cut him off. "No, Jordan, I want the truth. Every lie, every hidden thing. I deserve that." The room was silent except for the ticking of the clock. Jordan's eyes darted around, searching for a way to escape, but there was none. Slowly he began to speak, admitting to relationships Alex had never known about, the people he had lied to, and the secrets he had kept. Alex listened, his heart breaking, but a strange sense of relief washed over him. Finally, the truth was out. He realized that the betrayal was deeper than he had imagined, but now he could see clearly. The truth hurt, but it also gave him power. The power to decide what to do next, how to rebuild his life, and whether forgiveness was even possible. That night, Alex lay awake, exhausted and torn, but a small spark of clarity remained. He knew the full extent of the betrayal, and now he had the choice to act.